Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some camp donuts, sausage, bacon, and cut up a watermelon. So I'm going to get my burners here ready for our bacon and for our donuts. There we go. Got it? Yep. Sometimes it's hard to see. Let's get our oil heating up in here. I find that this little bottle right here, it's like a pint or something like that, is perfect for frying up our donuts where you don't have too much extra after, but enough to kind of get them in halfway. We're going to let that start heating up. And then let me get our bacon cooking as well, because that's one of the longer things. And then we're going to make up our donut recipe. So we made sour cream donuts earlier, like sour cream and sourdough discard donuts. Today we are just going to make some old-fashioned quick donuts using butter and cream. And then we're going to do cinnamon sugar. So it's a slightly different recipe, but still delicious. Let's get our bacon. And my tongs. I'm going to turn this down so it's not too high cooking up that bacon. And then we'll throw our sausages in at the last minute. Yesterday I cooked my sausages in butter and everybody was like, oh, these weren't as good as the previous ones. And I'm like, yeah, it's the bacon grease. They make the sausages better. So we'll throw those in towards the end. We're on our final, this is our final full day camping. So I'm trying to get creative with all the food we have left over for our dinners for the tonight and then our breakfast tomorrow. So we're kind of going through and using what we have. Here we go. So we've got those broken apart. We've got our oil starting to heat up. So we are going to prep up our donut mixture for this. So we've got, I'm going to have one for my cinnamon sugar and one for our little donuts here. So we're going to start with 3 cups of flour. I'm just going to be making them in my little pan here because it's just easier. That way I can throw it away when I'm done. So 2 and 3. And then, put the lid on this, we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder. So 1, whew, missed that one. Add that back in there. And then now 1/2. That's going to give our donuts a nice little rise. And then we're going to add in some salt. We want about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm just going to eyeball this. That's about 1 teaspoon. There we go, of salt. And then let's give this a little, where did I put my, here they are. My little camp bag. We're going to give this a little mix. And then we're going to cut up some butter into small cubes to mix in here. That's going to give you a really delicious kind of butter donut, old-fashioned style. So nice and fluffy and delicious. But you want to first make sure this is mixed up. And then we're going to add in, you want about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of sugar. So I'm going to eyeball it in here. We are going to put some, roll it in some on the outside, but you want a little bit in your inside to sweeten it up. Get some of these clumps out. We'll give this a good mix. And that way, all we have left at the end is to put in our butter and then our cream for these donuts. So that's our base. I'm going to do a quick little flash over here and stir up our bacon. We got our oil. You can tell it's starting to get hot. I'm seeing the little bubbles form. Here we go. Okay. I've got my stick of butter here. And we're going to kind of dice it up, and then we're going to add it in there. I tried to take this out of the cooler at the last minute, but of course it's heated up a little bit. You could grate it or you could slice it up really finely, and that's what I'm going to do, is just slice it up. It's a little bit easier because it's not as cold as at home. Pastry cutter would also work well for this. But this is going to give you just the delicious part of your donuts here. I don't know why I keep thinking bagels. I'll have to maybe make some sourdough bagels when we're at the lake house. Everyone loves those. I brought, I've been feeding my sourdough and trying to keep it as well as we could during our trip because I want to be able to make my family some sourdough bread and English muffins, and now I'm like, ooh, bagels. So I'm going to kind of push this through, mix it all up so we don't have any big chunks of butter. And then I'm just going to, my oil's getting a little hot, so I'm just going to turn it down a smidge. I can hear it starting to bubble. I don't want it too high because if the oil is too high, then it is it will burn your donut holes before they get golden and cooked all the way through. So we're just going to break this up, and then we're going to add in about a little over a cup. It's like a cup and a fourth of cream, not quite a fourth of a cup after that. We're going to mix it in, and you're going to want just a dough that's slightly, and not that you can work with, but it's not super sticky. And you want to have chunks of the butter in there because those will melt up and it'll give you just a really delicious kind of fluffy donut hole. Okay, this is looking good. And now we're going to do our cream for this. I give it a good shake. It's all the cream top on it, and I want to make sure it gets all mixed up. There we go. So we're going to start with the cup. We're going to pour that in. And then we'll add a little bit more. And just slowly mix this with our fork to kind of bring our batter together. And then I'll add a smidge more. You really, if you're going to use milk, you're going to have to use a little bit less because milk's a little bit thinner. Therefore, it will absorb regular flour. I find the cream is just makes the best. There we go. And you can see how it's kind of coming together nicely. We've kind of got move out day on the campsite today. Everybody's leaving, I guess, because it's Sunday. They're checking out. Let me get these a little stir. And then after breakfast, today is our kind of laziest day on our camping trip. We're going to go to visit, going back up to Voyagers National Park, and we're going to just visit another area of the park. And well, we're going to see the, I think it's called Ash River Visitor Center at Voyager things. We have a couple hikes, trails there, but more of a simpler today. Yesterday we did the boat tour. I was really hoping to get the other boat tour yesterday, but or for today, but they were all sold out. Okay, now we're going to kind of flip this out, and we're going to kind of knead this together as best we can. I'm going to do it in batches, but you don't want to over knead them, but enough to where you have you can make a dough out of it. So we've got that kind of pile. Again, we're working with our space of what we have here, so got my cutting board and my thing. I always love the vinyl paper or clayable cloths because you can wipe them off really easy camping, and it's much better than working on a just a picnic table. Okay, let's get, I think I'm ready to form these in the first sets of balls, and then we can start having them drop in, and then I can form up some more. Okay. Just giving them, kind of forming them together. A little bit of a pinch into it. And we're going to drop them in. As you can see, they're going to kind of fry up nicely. And you don't want to overwork them too much because you want them to be more fluffy. So I'm really kind of being gentle as I shape them up. I'm not worrying about them being perfect circles, but more of just kind of so they don't break off into too many pieces while they fry. Now at home, you could also roll these out or press them out and then cut them. You could have, you know, things, but I was like, I'm not going to bring a rolling pin. We're going to just keep it simple. But these are so good. We're going to make a cinnamon sugar to roll these in. And the kids loved it. Last time I made them, they were so good. They were eaten really fast. And then I looked over and I saw Teddy just stealing all the sugar off the plate from them. Let's get ours. And then let me throw this guys out. And we're going to make our last little bit. Add a bit more cream to get it all to kind of stick together. Again, I started with that cup and then I'm adding a little bit as we go. You don't want it too sticky because you want to be able to work with it. And a little bit of cream goes a long way. Here we go. I'm kind of doing my press and folds a little bit to get this dough to come together. Checking out, see if we need to flip any of those. I will say biscuits are, or not biscuits, these donuts are definitely a labor of love for my kids, but you can't beat campfire donuts when you're out here. They're just a good treat that is so good. I don't often fry my donuts at home, so we have a mini donut maker. Let's give our bacon a little stir. Whoop, I almost lost the guy down there. And then, look at that guy. He is getting perfect. You can tell how fluffy they are. Let that one sit a little bit longer. You can tell when they're ready to flip, you start to see those golden edges coming through. And they're cooking up gorgeous. I'm going to roll out our next set here so they'll be ready to go in. Here we go. And we'll have a big batch. And then I'm going to mix together some cinnamon and sugar for it. See, I'm so not used to sitting down and cooking, but it's kind of nice. I guess this is how I've seen, like in Italy, like the little old ladies making all the pasta and they're just, you know, rolling it together, sitting on there. Here we go. I know I made a bit more last time. I made enough for everybody to have one big donut because they were probably twice the size of this, and then a few extra. And I was like, I'll make a batch and a half today, so we're not fighting over those donuts. Add a bit more cream here, just to hold everything together, and then. But that butter in here that we've cut in here will make it to where they're really fluffy. It's, you know, it's probably more room temperature now that it's hot. You know, it's like almost 80 degrees out here. Not too hot, but not as cold as if you're doing it inside at home. Okay. These are just about held together. Perfect. Now, I'm going to flip our other ones, and then I'm going to get myself a wet wipe to kind of clean up. Yeah. There. Puffing up, but they are looking delicious. Might need to hold them a little bit more firmer together. Let me get our bacon. I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. There we go. So I'm going to try to give it a good firm things because I guess I didn't press them quite as firm. Okay, we got these are all kind of formed together for our next one. And now in this pan, I'm going to add in my sugar. We're going to add a good amount because I'm going to try to coat them in this, and then we'll move them to a plate. And then we're going to add in our cinnamon sugar. We want a good amount. We'll mix this back and forth. There we go. Let me see. I think I could use this, and this will help kind of take them out and let them cook up. I'm going to turn up this oil just a little bit hotter. And we're going to see if we're ready for this first one. They are falling apart today, but will still be delicious. See, the last time I made with my sourdough discard and my sour cream, and they fried up so much nicer. Here's me changing it up, doing an old-fashioned way. They'll be more like funnel cake. Okay. Let's see, I'm hoping that the next ones I pushed a little bit more firm will turn out a smidge nicer. But here we've got our first one in. That was the one that was cooking the fastest. And look, we're just going to coat it up with this cinnamon sugar on it. And then we're going to move it. So we've got our first one. And then you look at all these little like cinnamon sugar kind of crumbles on it. Okay. We get our bacon cooking here. For some reason, I must have just not held them in hard enough. 'Tis the life. Let's flip these guys over. There we go. And perfect. Let them kind of cook up here. And then we're going to switch these out and we're going to put the next batch in. And we'll let those kind of cook up nice and firm. Make sure I really might do these so they can kind of cook up easier. We're going to do kind of a flat donut because I realized I said maybe I don't have enough oil. You got to pivot when you're camping. There we go. They'll be like donut discs. And let me grab our there we go. We are just not working today. So see, it's going to be more like a funnel cake. We're going to move these all to the side. Good thing I made a big batch. We're going to let these cook over here. I'm going to grab, I have another scoop. I need to scoop out some of this mixture for it in here. But you know, sometimes we've got to get creative with cooking. Okay. We're just going to scoop out this, and this is going to be just a cinnamon sugar kind of donut crunch. And then I'm going to fry up the second batch, and hopefully they fry up much better. I think I just must have not have pushed them firm enough to keep that butter together. Still be delicious. Be more like a funnel cake. Here we go. And good thing we bring lots of things with us cooking, so we have lots of options. We're gonna let this sit over here. And I scrape these out. Look at this. They're still looking good for what's left of them. It's gonna be like a coffee cake. I'm gonna put that on here. And then let's get these guys in here cooking. And put all of our little mini ones in here. We're gonna let them kind of cook up. Hold this one together. Let's see. And then we're going to get our sausages in. I'm actually going to steal. Actually, it might taste good. Be a messier campfire donut. Okay, let's get our sausages cooking up. Our bacon's almost done. Hopefully we'll have these cooked up well on the way. It's funny how you can cook something one day and it turns out perfect, and the next day it kind of goes crazy on you. And we're going to do the rest of our sausages today because tomorrow we have some steaks that we missed one day with a lake camp night. So we're going to have steak and eggs for breakfast tomorrow, which I'm kind of excited about, and maybe some skillet potatoes. There we go. We've got these cooking here. I'm going to throw in maybe a smidge more oil if I can find my bottle. So I've got all my camping stuff over here. There we go. All of my camping gear for the whole trip is in these 2 tubs. We restock with groceries halfway through, and then we have a big cooler. But it's, you know, I don't bring a whole lot. I just bring a smidge amount. Here we go. We're going to add just a little bit more because that first one kind of exploded. I think, honestly, what I did is my tongs, I squeezed them, and I probably should have just used a spatula to flip them on it. But we live and we learn. Okay. There we go. These are cooking up better. So being just careful when I flip them so that I don't break them apart. Here's me trying not to use my sourdough gift card, and it doesn't work nearly as well. Here we go. Give this a nice little stir. Our bacon is just about ready, so I'm going to get our paper towels ready for that, kind of pull that out. Here's the rest of them. They just kind of fell completely apart in there. I think, you know what, but that's the beauty of it is, you know what, mistakes happen cooking all the time. Things happen. You just got to pivot. You just got to figure it out.
What kind of bacon do you use?
This is just Oscar Mayer bacon, so super easy. Like, you just get it a pack, fried up. I don't like thick cut. I like thin cut. Thick cut, I think, doesn't crisp up as nice and gets really chewy. So it's also what we had available at the grocery stores here. Okay, let me tong out my bacon because it looks like it's about ready. There we go. And then I'm just going to give my sausages a little swirl. These sausages have been like the biggest hit on our camp trip. Everyone just talks about how good they are. And I'm like, oh, it's just so simple. It's just, you know, but it's cooking them in the bacon grease that makes them so much better. Okay. Put this over. There we go. Now we're getting a better form on them. Turn my oil down just a little bit. And one more to flip. Perfect. So these ones will be much better. Good thing I made an extra big batch. Must have thought ahead. Must have known it wasn't going to work out. Okay, let's get our watermelon cut up because those donuts will be ready in just a few seconds, and these sausages will be ready in just a second too. I'm going to turn them down really low to let them kind of heat up but not get too overcooked. Okay, so I'm going to cut up my watermelon today because we're going to go on a hike, and my favorite little snack after a hike is ice cold watermelon. So what we're going to do is we'll eat half of it, and then I put it in a Ziploc baggie and I throw it in my cooler, and it will be delicious. So here, and I'm going to turn down my donuts just a smidge. And here we go. Let's get our watermelon cut. So with my camping, I just bring, this is the biggest knife I brought. And then I have, look at that, delicious, like smaller sets. This is nice and juicy. But we'll pop it in little bags. And then you'll have like just easy little watermelon like in our cooler. And that, when it's nice and cold, that is like the best thing to have after a hike. You can see how juicy this is. Pop it out. I only get the little watermelons camping because otherwise with our group, it's just one big watermelon. You just can't possibly eat in 1 or 2 settings. So you get a little watermelon and then you can eat it up, and then I'll get like 1 or 2 throughout our camping trip, but they will cook up, keep nice and fresh in the cooler for a day or 2. There we go. This is like the juiciest watermelon I have ever had. Look how much like liquid is just pouring out of it. This will be nice and refreshing. Okay, we'll save this other half for going in the cooler. Let's check on, again, look at this, the juice. See if I can pour it down. There we go. I've got our sausages here. Much better. These are perfect. I'm going to pull them off, and then we're going to get our donuts off. Where did I put my tongs? Right over here. So I'll slide my bacon over. That way my sausages also can go on here, and they won't get too greasy. Here. These have been the fight every single day because I had been rationing them. And then I realized we had steaks, and I was like, you know what? We're cooking them up. Everybody can have as many sausages as they want. Okay, I'm going to, instead of trying to roll these guys because they're more delicate, I'm going to scoop them out on the plate, and then we will cover them with our flour, our cinnamon sugar. But they will be, you can see just how fluffy they are. And they kind of sucked up all of that oil in here. Big, beautiful. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this cinnamon sugar, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over because they are a very delicate donut. And if I mess with them too much, they will fall apart. And I'd rather them fall apart in my kids' mouths than over here. But just take this cinnamon sugar, and you're going to put there. Perfect. So, turned out great, even though we had a little mishap. That's the beauty of it. I'm going to turn off my skillets here. Got it. And let's plate up our breakfast. Simple, delicious, easy, quick, and fun. Okay. So we've got our bacon, of course. I feel like bacon and sausage are like the camping must-haves. And then let me get, here is our nice hot cinnamon sugar donut. That will be perfect for breakfast today. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, try to show you what we're making for our family, and hopefully teach you guys something along the way, even when things don't work out, how we can get them to work out in the end. Well, guys, don't forget, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just find that link, search for what we cook for, and make it at home as well. We also have our link to our Amazon storefront, so we have all of our camping gear in there as well as all the cooking gear we use at home. But again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.